Bring him in. I got a lot of partners in this. We can bring it around a little bit. Just curve it around, yeah? Is that it? Everybody set? Good morning. My name is Chief Andrew Hall with the Fresno Police Department. This press conference is to announce the arrest of suspects who are responsible for the tragic and senseless shooting that occurred in our city on Sunday, November 17th. On November 17th, 2019, at approximately 7:48 p.m., suspects entered the backyard residence at 5361 East Lamona, where friends and families had gathered to watch a football game. The suspects entered the backyard of the residence and opened fire on a crowd of about 16 males that were simply watching TV in the back patio. 10 people were shot. Sadly, 4 others died of their injuries. A total of 16 people were shot in this incident. The deceased are Ku Zhang, 38 years of Fresno, Fia Bang, 31 years old, Kalazang Tao, 40 years old, and Zai Li, 23 years old. This shooting affected not only the city, but also really impacted our Hmong American community. Almost immediately after the shooting, I was contacted by our state, federal, and local law enforcement partners who offered assistance, immediate assistance, with our investigation. These law enforcement partners also agreed to assist by joining the Asian Gang Task Force I had formed to investigate this shooting and bring the suspects to justice. I am joined here by many of these agencies whose efforts were instrumental in the arrest we are here to announce today. I am extremely grateful for their assistance, and on behalf of the community, I want to personally thank them and publicly acknowledge them. Also standing with me today is Mayor Lee Brand. I would like to thank him for all his support and the support he provided to the community. I would now like to have Deputy Chief Pat Farmer, our investigation division chief, come forward to acknowledge some of our partners in this investigation. Pat?
Thank you, Chief Hall. I'd like to acknowledge all of our partners who helped us on this task force that need to be recognized, that helped us solve this mass shooting and quadruple homicide. Internally, I'd first like to acknowledge Captain Dennis Bridges with our Street Violence Bureau. Dennis has been with the department for about 37 years. He has been an instrumental part of this task force, coordinating the meetings with all of our partners and ensuring we had good communication going on throughout the past 6 weeks. I'd also like to acknowledge Lieutenant Larry Bolin, our Street Violence Bureau commander, along with Sergeants Benson and Serrano in our homicide unit. They were not only part of the task force, but these 2 sergeants and Lieutenant Bolin were able to keep the flow of all of our other investigations going well. The city still had shootings, stabbings, robberies, and so forth, and the lieutenant and the 2 sergeants were able to do a great balancing act when it came to running the task force and handling all the other street violence that was occurring within the city of Fresno. I'd also like to mention our primary detectives, Miranda, Alvarez, Laban, and Motter, along with crime analyst Renee Long and the analysts from the ATF, HSI, and the FBI, who worked very well together in helping us in this task force put the pieces together. every unit in our Street Violence Bureau, from the robbery unit, felony assault, homicide, night detectives, our tactical team, had a part in some form or fashion with this investigation. I'd also like to acknowledge our multi-agency gang force consortium, MAGIC. Early on, Chief Hall formed this task force, believing there was a high probability that this was gang-related, which turned out to be the case. And so having MAGIC involved in this task force was huge in helping us identify the key players that were involved. I'd also like to mention our Special Investigations Bureau. That's all of our plainclothes units, major narcotics, our vice intel, our auto theft unit that did a lot of the surveillance on this case and made a lot of doors and helped identify some of the key players. We also had our Family Justice Bureau involved on the day after Christmas when we served 19 search warrants, and they did an outstanding job with the forensics with the cell phones. We had over 170 cell phones or computers that had to be downloaded, and the forensics had to be completed on that. And with our federal partners and our state and local assets, we need to get this evidence processed quickly, our chaplain's office, and our volunteers as well. Locally, I'd like to acknowledge Lisa Smitkamp, our district attorney. Lisa and her prosecutors have been there from day one, helping us along with the DA investigators every step of the way. And I can't say enough about Lisa's team and the great work that they did. I'd also like to acknowledge the Fresno County Sheriff's Department, whose SWAT team helped serve some of the 19 search warrants, as well as the Clovis Police Department, whose officers made a traffic stop for mail theft. They made a significant arrest, one of our suspects involved in this crime, and also recovered one of the firearms used. So Clovis PD officers did a stellar job with that arrest. I'd also like to acknowledge the Fresno County Probation Department, our ACT team, adult compliance team, as well as the Tulare County Sheriff's Department, who's represented here as well. At the state level, I'd like to thank the California Highway Patrol, the OES, the Governor's Office of Emergency Services, that have been a part of our task force from the beginning, as well as state parole, CDCR, and our local crime lab out here at Fresno State. They also made it a top priority to get this evidence processed quickly, and they knew that this was a serious case that had top priority. And also on the state side, CDCR, California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, has been a great partner as well. And then finally, I'd like to acknowledge our federal partners, to include the FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, ATF, Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, Homeland Security, HSI, the DEA, as well as the U.S. Marshal's Office and U.S. Attorney's Office. I could tell you with confidence that we would not have been able to solve this case if it wasn't for all of these partners I just mentioned. This was a team effort, and we worked very well together. And we're glad to be here today, standing with our partners side by side, being able to solve this case. And we couldn't have done it without them. So I'd like to thank each and every one of those partners for being here today and for all of their assistance. Now I'd like to turn it back over to Chief Hall. Thank you.
Thanks, Pat. As you can see, this was a collaborative effort, and I'm very proud to be part of this team. Our investigation has revealed the following. On November 17th, 2019, at 4:19 a.m., a homicide occurred in our city at 3904 East Dwight. The victim in this case, a 28-year-old Randy Zhang, was murdered. Randy was the brother of a gang member who belonged to an Asian gang called the Mongolian Boys Society. This homicide is still an ongoing investigation and is being actively investigated at this time. Approximately 16 hours later, the shooting and homicide occurred at the Lamona residence. We know now that this was a retaliatory shooting towards the gang believed responsible for Randy Zhang's death. The Asian gang is known as the Asian Crips. A Crime Topper's tip served as a pointer in our investigation that led us to an interview of a person who had additional information on this case. This led to further tips and the end result. On December 17th, the Clovis Police Department arrested Billy Zhang for mail theft. Billy Zhang was a person of interest in the Lamona homicide. During a search of Zhang's vehicle, the Clovis Police Department located a Glock 9mm semi-automatic handgun and 2 high-capacity 30-round magazines. The gun had been modified to fire at a fully automatic capacity. The Fresno Police Department took possession of this weapon and confirmed through NIBIN's technology that this was used in the murder at the Lamona residence. The investigation then led us to securing search warrants in this case. On December 26th, the day after Christmas, the Fresno Police Department, with the assistance of other law enforcement agencies throughout the valley, served 19 search warrants in this case. 18 of those search warrants were served within the city of Fresno, and the 19th was served in the city of Visalia. 40 people were contacted at these locations, which led to multiple interviews. The 13 firearms you see before you today were recovered during these search warrants, and one of the firearms recovered in this search warrant was confirmed to be the second murder weapon, a .40 caliber Glock semi-automatic pistol. That pistol was discovered to be stolen out of Oklahoma. Investigators also received $46,000 in cash, which is suspected to be tied to drug activity. 2 vehicles used in the commission of this homicide were also located and seized as evidence. In addition to this, there was a significant amount of critical evidence that was recovered during these search warrants. This extensive investigation has led to the arrest of the following 6 suspects for the shootings and murders that occurred at Lamona residence. All 6 suspects are self-admitted Mongolian Boy Society gang members. Suspect Billy Zhang, 25 years, of Fresno. Anthony Montez, 27-year-old, also of Fresno. Porge Koo, 26 years, of Fresno. Johnny Zhang, 25 years old, of Fresno. Pao Vang, 19 years old, of Fresno. And Giovanni Delgado, 19 years, of Fresno. All 6 of these suspects have been arrested, and we are requesting the following charges against them: 4 counts of homicide, 12 counts of attempted homicide, conspiracy to commit murder. These charges will also include gang and firearm enhancements. Each suspect is now being held on over $11 million of bail each. The Fresno Police Department is also looking for 23-year-old Sia Vang. Sia is a person of interest and someone we would like to talk to regarding this investigation. Sia Vang is currently wanted for an outstanding parole violation. If you have information to his whereabouts, we encourage you to call Crime Stoppers. At this time, I would like to call Mayor Lee Brand to the podium. Lee's been a real source of support for me personally, as well as the community. Lee?
Good morning. Over the past few weeks, I've attended funerals for young men who left this earth too early, victims of a senseless attack that threatened our city. At the ceremonies honoring their brief lives, I made a vow to ensure their deaths would not be in vain, and this tragedy would not end the dreams of their family and the Hmong community. Thanks to the relentless efforts of our local law enforcement, we now, hopefully, have a sense of closure for this terrible event that shook the city of Fresno to its core. I want to thank Chief Hall for both your patience and your persistence in the Fresno Police Department's efforts to identify the people responsible for this attack, and most importantly, to bring them to justice. It took thousands of hours and weeks of hard work to make sure we got it right. I know that Chief Hall and his team would not accept anything less. I want to thank every officer and civilian in the Fresno Police Department. I also want to thank the other law enforcement agencies who helped make these arrests possible, including the Fresno County Sheriff's Department, the District Attorney's Office, Homeland Security, federal investigators, and the FBI. Their cooperation has helped us make the arrest to take these criminals off the streets. For the families and friends of these young men who were brutally attacked on the night of November 17th, we still mourn your loss and we share your grief. This has been a trying and painful experience for our entire community, including our police officers. Thankfully, with today's news, we all can begin healing. I want to thank the Hmong community, and particularly my friends Pao Yang, Blong Zhang, Mitch Hare, and the Hmong elders for their trust and their support. I attended the annual Hmong New Year celebration last week, and I said we would do everything we can to solve this crime and protect their community. The promise of protection cannot stop with these arrests. We must continue to be vigilant, to be connected, and to be strong. This incident does not divide us nor define us. It only serves to unite us in our love of family and community. We will work hard to bring peace and comfort to every corner of the city of Fresno as we close this page on a very difficult year. As we look to the future, my hope, my prayer is for a peaceful and prosperous new year for the Hmong people in the entire city of Fresno, as we all resolve to find the better angels of our nature. Thank you, and God bless the city of Fresno.
Thank you, Mayor Brand. I'd like to also thank Deputy Chief Pat Farmer, Captain Dennis Bridges, and Lieutenant Larry Bolin for overseeing this investigation. More importantly, I'd just like to say how proud I am of our lead detectives and all of the investigators who worked tirelessly to find the suspects responsible for this crime. They were relentless. This investigation has accumulated nearly 5,000 investigative hours. I would also like to thank Dale Mendoza with Crime Stoppers for their help in this investigation and organizing the reward fund. While this investigation was taking place, it was also important that we provided assistance to the families and the Hmong American community. I would like to thank all of the volunteers in our community who came together to support the families in this time of need. I will most certainly not be able to name every person that got involved in this case, and those worked behind the scenes to help support the families. But I would like to specifically thank the Southeast District Commander, Captain Anthony Martinez, for his leadership with the community outreach. To all of our Southeast Asian officers who came in on their time off and on their weekends to support the community and our investigation. Again, I'd like to thank Mayor Lee Brand, the city council members, and Pao Yang of the Fresno Center. This investigation is not complete, and there's still a lot of work to do. The final chapter in this case will be a successful prosecution. I would now like to ask Fresno County District Attorney Lisa Smitkamp to come forward and discuss the prosecution of these suspects.
Thank you, Chief Hall. On behalf of the Fresno County District Attorney's Office, I would like to once again extend my condolences to the friends and the family and the neighbors of the victims in this case. 4 people lost their lives and 6 people were injured by gunfire. Additionally, a neighborhood and the entire Hmong community, as well as every person who lives in the city, was victimized by this rage and terror. Many of us who are up here today stood in front of you back in November and promised to combine our resources to bring these animals to justice. And today we are here to announce that we have done just that. I would like to thank and congratulate Chief Hall and the Fresno Police Department for their valiant effort in investigating this horrendous crime. Sergeant Andre Benson and his team of detectives are amazing law enforcement personnel, and we are so blessed to have them working for us and with us. His team of detectives has led this investigation with the highest professional standards, and their commitment to finding these individuals has led us here today. The District Attorney's Bureau of Investigations has been proud to partner with Fresno Police Department and our local, state, and federal partners to assist in this extremely complex investigation. And we will be reviewing the reports as soon as they are received to ensure that each person who participated, assisted, aided, or abetted the shooters in this case are held accountable for their actions. From the briefings I have been a part of, this case presents a factual basis for consideration of special circumstances murder. That means, upon full review of the facts and evidence in this case, that some or all of the defendants could face a maximum penalty of life without the possibility of parole or the death penalty. Circumstances which allow for special circumstances to be alleged are enumerated in California Penal Code Section 190.2 and 190.4. We will also be looking at evidence to determine if there is sufficient facts to substantiate charges for aiders and abettors who assisted in these murders, and we will be evaluating the behavior patterns and actions of the players to determine what level of involvement each person had in the planning, coordinating, and execution of this murderous conspiracy. The determinations as to what charges will be filed against each defendant will be announced via a press release from our office on Thursday, January 2nd, 2020.
Thank you, Lisa. This time I'd also like to bring up Kurt Sheriff from the United States Attorney's Office. They have been with us every step of the way, giving us advice and guidance. Kurt?
Thank you, Chief Hall. Kirk Sheriff with the U.S. Attorney's Office.